Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Social Secrets Tips. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I'm so excited to talk to you about this method that I have been thinking about. I looked it up. So I was thinking about all of the new things that are coming into the market, the way the algorithms are changing on social media, the way that AI is coming into the picture, and all kinds of things. It feels like things are changing at a pace that it's really hard to keep up with, right? And so I've been thinking about what was the things that I kind of wrapped my hands around when social media first started. So I'm lucky enough to have been around since then, kind of with the dinosaurs, I know. But the truth is that I was thinking about all of these older kind of ways of thinking when we were really overwhelmed at that time. And I remembered this framework that I came up with at the time that I honestly have baked into everything I've done. I haven't talked about it in the way that I talked about it then, but I think that you guys are going to actually enjoy it. So let me just roll the credits here and then we'll get started. Sorry. All right, guys. I'm so excited that I'm going to be able to talk to you today about my bees framework. So I'm going to go over each one of the B's. It is an acronym. It stands for something. So I'm going to go over each one and tell you why it's important that we think about this in that frame. But first, I want to talk to you about bees in general. Bees are interesting creatures because out they are out in the world going from flower to flower to flower, but every night they come back into the hive and they bring all of that pollen that they're collecting. So stay with me. I know what are you talking about bees? Here's why. Because social media is a little bit like the flowers. We go out and we touch on the different flowers and we talk different people and we are bringing them back to our hive. And what is that hive? So I think we lose sight of this sometimes. I've heard so many people say, I don't need a blog. I don't need like anything like that. I can do all of it out there on social media. The problem is if you're only using social media and you don't have some kind of hive, some kind of owned hive, you are putting yourself in a very perilous position. So even then I knew that, all of these things are owned by the companies that own them, right? And they can change at any given time, like on a dime. I was talking yesterday, I actually left some comments on a friend's post about Twitter because I'm a little salty about Twitter because, that was really my platform of choice before a lot of the changes that have happened there. But the truth is, I don't own Twitter. Even if I'm sad that it's gone, it's okay. And it's not gone, obviously. It's just a different kind of a place that maybe isn't perfect for my audience and who I want to attract. And so what I have really thought about is like because that is true because we cannot control these platforms. We need a hive. We need to build a hive. So that would be the number one thing that I want you to hear and know is that you need to build a hive, and inside of that hive, you need to create. I'm going to put this up here so you can see what I'm talking about. You need to build a hive. That's it. You need to build a platform. You need to own a platform. So, that can be a blog, that can be a number of things. Some people are building communities where you go and you can create and hang out with people in your own community that you built. I know that I have a community like that. I've built an in person community. That's an owned thing, I guess you could say. Social Media Breakfast of Houston, we just celebrated 15 years. And that is, I guess, owned in a sense. It's community owned. But the point is that we have a place that we go that we can, connect with each other on a regular basis. And that can be a number of places. So, you may be a brand. And if you're a brand, you want them to come to your website because your website has the things that you sell that you can put there. But in that place, wherever you build it, it has to be an experience that when they go there, they're like, wow, this feels like home to me. And I feel comfortable buying something here. So we can talk more about that in other live streams, but I just want to get you the whole framework here today so that you start thinking about how this applies to you. So as I'm talking to you, I want you to think about, how does this apply to you? How does this apply to your work if you're an employee? How does this apply to you if you're a personal brand, or even if you are an employee and you're trying to build a personal brand? So what is that own platform for you? What is that going to be? If you already know that, I would love if you left it in the comments so other people could see, maybe get some ideas as well. The next step is to eavesdrop. And eavesdropping is all about listening to your dream customers. So, your dream customers are very important. And here's the funny part about it, they will tell you exactly what they need, but you have to go out and listen. I used to talk about being an anthropologist in social media, that you go out and you spend a lot of time listening. So if you're an anthropologist, which I'm not, but I did a lot of studying about it at that time when I was really interested in how this works. They go into a culture, a community, and they don't immediately start like helping people or talking to people. They spend like sometimes decades writing things down in a notebook or taking information, taking surveys, really learning about a culture. And from that, they can take that culture and then start to describe how that culture works, like what motivates them, and so on. And we have to do the same thing. We need to go out into the communities of dream customers that we're trying to attract. And while we are there, we need to take notes. Like, you need to be writing things down. You need to be, taking notes. So instead of going into a community and selling your stuff, which honestly is really annoying, because somebody else has built that community and you're coming in and you're trying to sell your stuff, why not go into that community and try to help out? But more than that, even that, just kind of participate, listen, write things down. If you hear people complaining about the same thing over and over and over again, and you have the capability of solving that problem, instead of jumping in and saying, I can solve that problem, blah, 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 blah. Write down what they say, write down what they're talking about. And then on your platform, you can use the words of your dream clients to attract those clients. And guess what happens when you do that? People say, I can't believe it. It sounds like you're like in my head. Like, it feels like you're listening to me, behind the scenes. Like, people feel very much seen and heard. Sorry, my voice today. People feel very much seen and heard when you do that. And that is super important. So you want to use their language, not your language. And the only way to do that, people, the only way to do that is to eavesdrop. And that means to listen. And, I've heard, you have two ears and one mouth. And my parents have told me that my whole life. You have two ears and one mouth. Sorry, mom, if you're listening. I am a talker, right? And that's why, these live streams are good for me. But the truth is that in marketing specifically, you need to, and public relations even more so, you need to listen. You need to listen to what people say and take note of it and then reflect it back to them. And that's the next step, by the way. The next step is, after you've learned what they care about, what they need, then you need to echo what you hear and create the things that they say that they want. So you may have a specific product or service, but you can wrap your product and service in all kinds of different marketing styles. There's different people who called it the big idea. What is the big idea around your product? Well, guess what? It has to be what people say they wanted. So even if you want to, I talk about this all the time. You give them, they need is broccoli, but they're asking for chocolate sauce, right? So how do you get them in with the chocolate sauce and then give them the broccoli that they need? Okay, that's an education, right? And what about your product and service? Well, how can that solve specifically their problem, and how can you make it interesting for them by using their own language? So one of the things I use often for smart social mastery, because I know it's absolutely true, and I've listened a lot, and I know it's true for me too, is this idea as public relations consultants, which I am one. One of our biggest problems is, it's a dirty secret, is that we don't do our own promotion as well as we should. Like, we know what should be happening. We know we should be promoting. We know we should be out there on social media, but it feels icky. It feels weird. And also, honestly, we'd rather focus on someone else. Like, you come to me and tell me what your problems are, and I will absolutely help you solve them. Like, tell me what how the difficulty you're having getting your product or service out into the world. That's my jam, right? Any day of the week, I can do that. But then, turn it to me and like say, hey, write your bio and send it over. Crickets. I don't wanna do it. I don't want to do it. So, yeah, by the way, if you're one of those people, next week, we're doing a brand voice workshop, for consultants and coaches. So if you're one of those people, and if you're not, just skip over this, but I've put the link to that free brand workshop we're doing next week in my bio. But that's a workshop where we're gonna get on a Zoom and actually work. So, I would love to have you there if you wanna come. But go grab that if you want to. But that's the key, right? Is you need to listen to what people say. And I've heard people say it over and over again, like, cobbler's children, um, you know, I'd rather talk about anyone except for myself, or, as I come from a public relations background, which I do. And one of the things we were taught early on is that you never become the story, that your client is always the story. And when you're the story, then you've failed. There's a lot to overcome mentally whenever you're dealing with this. So echo is really important because all of those words I just told you are things I've heard people actually say. And when I put them into my promotions and my copy and my blog posts and my videos, I always see that people resonate with them. If you resonate with one of the things I just said, let me know. Like, prove it to me. Prove it to me that that's true. Leave a comment and say, "Oh yeah, I definitely resonate with that." So echoing is really important. Okay, so that's the third step, and then or the second step. No, that's the third step. Then the fourth step. Don't worry, I'll go over all of them again. The fourth step is socialize. That is really about building connections and socializing. And socializing is so important. So here's the thing. You've done all of these other steps, and maybe you've attracted somebody to you and they've come to your platform. Then how do you socialize them there? Meaning, how do you connect them with your brand? How do you create something that actually will get them to continue to come to you and work with you? And so socializing is really important. Build connections, and sometimes, by the way, those connections come when you build connections between the people in your community. So when you're community building around a brand, and I've seen it, and I've done brand communities for big brands. Sometimes influencer brands, sometimes customer brands. We worked on this. And part of how that works is you help them cross pollinate with each other. See, I'm using the hive terms for you. And that is the key, So when you come back to the hive, the bee drops all of the pollen. So how can you create that pollen inside of your community with each other? So all of you are working in concert together. That is the key. And in the end of the day, it has to be less about your brand and much more about the people that you're attracting into your brand. So this is a different kind of marketing. I mean, there's one kind of marketing where you just sell somebody something and you move on to the next person. You sell somebody something and you move on. So you're selling to a type of person. Maybe you sell to moms and you're just looking for as many moms as possible. And then there's another type that is different. So one of the communities that I belong to is like that, and they are a Comcast has one of those that's for business owners. There's different communities like that, and they've built internal communities with the entrepreneurs that they're trying to attract. So there's different ways of doing this. I am a community builder, so I will lean toward that. And that's why I think this framework works so well. So let's look at it all together. Okay. So tell me if this is resonating for any of you. I would love, love, love to hear from you in the comments. It would be great. So let me know if you're watching this in replay. Let me know replay. Um, so here it is: build, eavesdrop, echo, socialize, and build your hive for your customers. And really, you build that place. Those are all of your main hive and also your outposts. So when you build something, you're building your, like, say, your blog, and also all of your social media things. And so part of this, which I didn't really go into today, is that you have to build an ecosystem around your brand. And so you build your hive But you also have your outposts, and the outposts are all of those social media places where you're gathering your pollen and bringing them back to the hive, and your pollen and your people, and bringing them back to your hive. How do you do that? Well, you do have to go out and cross pollinate. So you can't just only have a blog or only have this. So it's a very complex system. And guess what? Bees are very social, complex creatures. It's a really good model to look at is how do they build their hive? They go out and they gather and they gather. And so your social media is gathering spots. It shouldn't be the destination spot. So like you may be doing a lot of great gathering right now, say on Instagram, but a year from now, 2 years from now, that may not be the place anymore. You may be somewhere else. You may be on Threads, or you may be on TikTok, or you may be on LinkedIn or YouTube. There are different places to gather, and it's going to matter on who your audience is, right? And it can change over time. I have found that YouTube has been very stable, so it's a good place to build, but they do change the way that they get out the video. So if you get to the point where you're getting great connection on the videos, they change their algorithms too. So you have to have a place that you're doing it. So for example, for us, for Zoetica Media, we have a blog, and then well, I do this live stream. We make a blog post with it. And then we also have that on YouTube. So YouTube is not our main channel, but we put it on YouTube, LinkedIn. I still use X and for streaming, and also Instagram right now. By the way, I'm streaming in Instagram. Hi, if you're there. If you are, I'm probably going to be able to see your comments afterwards because the way that StreamYard works, I can't do it until afterwards. So that's the key, is that you want to look at, where the gathering is good right now and realize you may have to shift over time. A lot of people say, well, I don't do a blog anymore because I don't get any comments and it seems like, it's difficult. Well, I still would recommend you have a website and you do have updated content on a regular basis for SEO purposes, which is also shifting right now because of AI. So we can talk about that in a different video. But SEO is shifting, but still, you need to have those pieces on your website so that the AI has something to bring them back to you as well. So AI itself, like its snippets and the things that it does on Google, will also be something that we're going to be worried about as time goes on. So that is my 4 steps. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I am very excited to be doing this because I really feel like it's an oldie but goodie. And I feel like that idea of a beehive maybe is really good for all of us to think about. So really quick, I'm going to let you get on with your day. But if you have any questions about it and you have anything that you want to talk to me about, as far as how to build your beehive, like you're concerned about how you're going to do that, let me know. I'm happy to talk to you. Also, if you want to build your brand voice, next week we are having our Smart Social Mastery open house brand voice workshop. It is something I do a couple times a year. I may not do it next year. Sometimes I switch it around. Last year I was doing instant authority, which is slightly different. So this year I'm doing brand voice, like where you can have a specific voice that will attract your dream clients. And so if that's something you're interested in, go grab that. This is case sensitive, so just FYI. So the bit.ly link is right there. And yeah, take a screenshot and please head over there. Also, I've put this link in the description of the video. All right, guys. So that's it. I'm going to play a little video on the way out, which is basically what we just talked about. So you can take notes. And if not, I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.